Yo, what's up, everybody? Mr. Scheiderer here, and this is your review video. You guys got a quiz coming up tomorrow, right before Thanksgiving break. So we wanted to give you guys the opportunity to practice some of these skills that we've been practicing since last week, converting between decimals, fractions, and percents. And these are going to be the answers to it. They're going to be laid out below the video for you, so you can click through and find the ones that you missed. Hopefully, you guys use this as a tool to address your learning. We really need you guys to be an active part of this, dialogue here. So let's get into problem number one. By the way, Miss Edwards kids, what's up? My people, you know the deal. Let's get going. Number one, what is the fraction of the gray and black shaded spaces to the whole object? And I tell my kids, and I know Miss Edwards tells hers, the best thing to do on these ones, whenever you're writing a ratio or a fraction of anything, write it out in words first. So what I'm going to do is write gray and black. That's going to be on top of whole object. So I'm comparing gray and black to whole object. So what I'm going to do is go over here and count all the gray and black squares. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 gray squares, 2 black squares. So that's 12 total, gray and black together, compared to how many squares there are total. Well, there's 4 rows of 4, so there's 16 total. So the gray and black to a whole figure is 12 to 16. Now, if you look down at our options, you don't see that. You don't see 12 to 16. So by this time, we probably know that that doesn't mean it's a wrong answer, just probably needs to be simplified. So if we divide 12 and 16 by their greatest common factor, in this case is 4, then we get the fraction 3/4. So the fraction of gray and black squares to the whole object is 3 to 4. Number 2, what is the percent of the gray and black shaded spaces to the whole object? So now we have the exact same picture here, so we can use the same information that we got from up here, right? We know that the fraction is 3/4. Okay, we know that the shaded area, the black and gray shaded area to the whole object is 3 to 4. Now what we need to do is convert that to a percentage. And there's a couple different ways we can do that. Now I'll show you 2 of them, and I'm going to do them quickly. The first way is turning this into a fraction where the denominator is 100, which you can do as long as you got numbers that are easy to work with here. 4 is pretty easy because you can just multiply it by 25. And 3 times 25 is 75. Am I boring you, Max? Am I boring you? Sorry, dude. So you end up with 75 out of 100, which is 75%, right? All percents out of 100. The other way you could have found this was in my favorite way, honestly, guys. If you ever get confused with any of this, just take 3 divided by 4. That's all you gotta do. And that might look a little confusing, but as long as you know how to add a decimal and a 0, these are not too bad. 4 goes into 37 times, which is 28. And 4 goes into 25 times. There you go, 0.75, which is 75%, right? 75 out of 100. Next one, number 3. What is a fraction of the blue shaded spaces to the whole object? That is 2, 3, 4 times 5. This is 21 out of 25. 21 blue, 25 total. And the only answer here, that does not simplify. So it's going to be 21 times 25. 25. The next question, what is the decimal of the blue shaded spaces in the whole object? So we need to take 21 over 25 and convert it to a decimal. Now, this one can be converted to a decimal the same way that we worked the last problem, right? You can either turn the denominator to a power of 10, so this will go to 100 quite easily, and 25 times 4 is 100, or 21 times 4 is 84, so you have 84 hundredths. The answer is exactly that, 84 hundredths, right? Now you could have just divided this. Again, you can always just divide a fraction and turn it into a decimal or percentage. It's my favorite way to do it because it works every time. 24 does not go into a 21, but it does go into 210. Now this one might be a little annoying, but 24 you can figure out goes in 8 times. 8 times 24, 8 times 2 is 160 plus 32, 292? No. 192? with 18 left over, bring down a 0, and no, that's not right. 24, 160 plus 32. Yeah, it's 192. Oh, 25. Oh, I'm sorry. My bad, that's 25. So 25 goes into 210 8 times, which is 200. And then that gives us 10 left over, and then 25 goes into 100 4 times, which, same thing, right? 0.84. Don't make fun of my mistake, because I caught it, all right? I don't want to hear it, especially from my crew. Had about enough of it. Next. Number 5. What is the simplified fraction as a percent? So we need to take 20 over 25 and simplify it, and then find it as a percent. You don't necessarily need to simplify this to find it as a percent, but you can simplify it if you want to. Divide it by 5 and you get 4/5. But either way, turning it into a percent. I've showed you guys the different ways to do it. My way here, I'm just going to divide it. 4 divided by 5, and 5 goes into 40 8 times evenly. Done. It's 0.8, which as a percentage, which again, all out of 100. Remember, we learned that to turn a decimal into a percent, all you gotta do is move it over 2 spaces. There you go. The answer is 80%. Number 6. What is the simplified fraction as a decimal? 3/8 as a decimal. Now, this one, the problem with 3/8 as a fraction is that 8 does not get to a power of 10 or 100 easily. So the best way to handle this one is going to be to divide it. This one doesn't divide very quickly, but it will be the best way to find the answer to number 6 here. 8 goes into 30 3 times, which is 24. 8 goes into 60 7 times, which is 56. And 8 goes into 40 5 times. You get 0.375, which our answer is right here. Number 7, 48 hundredths, the decimal. What is this as a fraction in simplest form? So I think that converting decimals to fractions is kind of nice, because all you got to do is say the decimal using its place value, and then that's what fraction it is. This is 48 hundredths. So the fraction is 48 hundredths. Now, obviously we need to simplify this. So my approach to this, like if you divide it by the greatest common factor, you'll find it immediately. But that's not always how my brain works. I notice that these are both even numbers, so I always start easy. If I can get these numbers smaller, it's going to help me out a lot. So I'm going to divide them by 2. Now 48 divided by 2 is 24, and 100 divided by 2 is 50. Now, that helps me out a little bit. It does not give me a final answer because I don't see it over here, right? It needs to be simplified again, but that's okay. I'm going to divide it by 2 again because I know that they're both even again. And in this case, I get 12 over 25. And 12 over 25 doesn't have any more common factors. That's the simplest form. So our answer here, 12/25. You good, bud? He's not amused. Number 8. Order these from least to greatest. Now, ordering fractions from least to greatest is an annoying process. I'm not going to lie to you guys. So what you need to do to order fractions from least to greatest is make sure all the denominators are common. So you can make all of these denominators common. I believe the least common denominator for all of these is 50. So you got to turn the denominators of every single one of these to 50 and then line them up in order from least to greatest. I'm not a huge fan of that. My favorite way to do it is to turn them all into decimals and then put them in order from least to greatest. Decimals is always the best way to go because it's the easiest to convert. You can just divide every single one of these to figure out that answer. So you could do 9 divided by 10 for this first one. I'm just going to turn them all. So 9 divided by 10. 10 goes into 90 9 times. This is 0.9. So I'm going to write these over here, what these are, right over top of them. This is 0.9. Okay. 13 20ths. I can just do 13 divided by 20. 20 goes into 130 6 times, which is 120. And 20 goes into 100 5 times. This is 0.65. There's some nice, easy, it's called long division, but as you can see, these aren't that long. And then 3 divided by 5. 5 goes into 30 6 times evenly, which is 0.6. And then 17 25ths. I'm just going to divide 17 by 25. And 25 goes into 170 4, 5, 6 times, which is 150. 20 left over, I can bring another 0 down. And 25 goes into 200 8 times, which is 0.68. Now I have to put these in order from least to greatest. And if we look up here at, well, this one's just a 0.6. We can put a 0 in there to make it a little bit easier to tell. But our smallest one here is 0.6, right? Or 60 hundredths. Now that's going to be our smallest, then 65 hundredths, then 68 hundredths, and then 9 tenths. Or if you want to put a 0 in there to make it a little bit easier to see, 90 hundredths, right? 60, 65, 68, and 90. So, but it's giving us the answers in fractions. So the smallest is 3/5. So as long as we look at these down here, well, this one's not it, and this one's not it, because these are the only ones with 3/5 is the smallest. And then the next one's going to be 13/20. So 3/5, 13/20, 17/25, and 9 tenths. This one down here is going to be our answer. This one's definitely not in order either. If you converted those to something else, ask me or Miss Edwards if you still don't understand it. But again, I know I told my kids that the easiest way to compare numbers is turn them all into decimals. It's a lot easier than converting all these denominators into a common denominator. Number 9, order these from least to greatest. We have 3 different style numbers here, and I'm going to go right back to what I've been saying this whole time. Turn them all into decimals and then compare them. So I'm going to go ahead and take 37/50. I'm going to use a different method on this one, 37/50. I'm just going to turn that denominator to 100. It'll be easy to turn into a decimal like that, right? Just times 2. And 37 times 2, 60 plus 14, 74. There we go, 74 hundredths. So I know that this one right here is 0.74, right? 74 hundredths. I know that 77 hundredths already is a decimal. I'm going to leave it alone. And 75% as a decimal, all I got to do is move it over 2 spots. It's 0.75. So in order to put these in order from least to greatest, that wasn't too long of a process if we turn them into decimals. So the lowest, right, the smallest is 37/50 at 74 hundredths, right? So this is a bad answer. So now between these two, the next smallest would be the 75%, right? Because 74 hundredths, 75 hundredths, 77 hundredths. So it's going to go 37/50, and then 75%, and then 77 hundredths. So this one right here, that was not a good answer either. Number 10. What is this decimal as a fraction? This is nice. This is a mixed number. It's got a whole number in the front, so it's 8 and 5 hundredths. So if you want to write it as a fraction, just literally say the number using place value, 8 and 5 hundredths, and then you have 8 and 5 hundredths, right? Now, if I look on my answer key over here, I don't see 8 and 5 hundredths. Probably means it needs to be simplified. I know that a 5 and 100 share a common factor of 5. So that would give me not 8 and 5 hundredths, but 8 and 1/20th. Number 11. I got another one here. What is the decimal as a simplified fraction? We have 85 hundredths here, so 85 hundredths. If you did that, good. Like you know how to turn a decimal into a fraction. Good job. Some of us struggle with simplifying a little bit. That's all right. Let's go ahead and tackle this one. Any number that ends in a 5 or 0 is divisible by 5, so I know that 5 will work here. 85 divided by 5, so that's 17. 15, 16, 17? Yeah, 17. And 100 divided by 5 is 20. So 17 20ths. 17 is a prime number, 20 is not, so these don't have a common factor. So our answer is going to be 17 20ths. Get on my new desk. Number 12. A survey was taken for each student's favorite animal. Here you can see that this is not number of students, guys. This is percent of students, right? So we don't necessarily know how many kids there were. We just know that this is the percent of them. Looks like most people like dogs, then cats and horses and then fish. What fraction of the students chose fish as their favorite animal? So if you look at fish, we see 9. Now some people might take 9 and add it up to all this, but we know this is percent of students. So this is literally 9%. All we have to do is turn 9% into a fraction, right? It says what fraction. So turn 9% into a fraction. All you got to do is, since all percents are out of 100, this is 9 out of 100. And 9 out of 100 is in simplest form. So your answer is 9/100. That's it, guys. Your test tomorrow is going to, or quiz, sorry, quiz, not a huge test or anything. It's going to be over all this stuff right here, everything that we went over. So if you did well on this and addressed your mistakes on here, I have no doubt that you guys are going to do great on this tomorrow. I will see you then for that. And good luck to Miss Edwards' class as well.